Welcome to the NEX Exchange interview here on Core Finance, where I'm joined by Michael Masterman, who's Executive Chairman at W Resources. How are you today, Michael?
Oh, good to be here, Zach.
Right, I noticed, even I couldn't fail to notice a slight blip higher in the share price of W Resources over the last week or two. It looks as though, to use the very well-worn phrase now, you've reached a bit of an inflection point.
Yes, long last, a beautiful inflection point.
So, what does it mean? What's changed the fundamentals of the company in the last few weeks?
Well, I think, look, 4 weeks ago we had a series of very important announcements. The first is we released our final investment decision report. So that's a full feasibility study with exactly what we're going to build, what the operating costs are, and what the capital costs are going to be. And that just reinforces, but with lots of certified support and all of that. Very low operating costs, $93, $94 per MTU. Very low capital costs, $25 million to deliver. Current price is $25 million of EBITDA, and that just underpinned the strength of the project. We also announced at the same time that, based on discussions with our investment banks, we've increased the amount of debt we're going to raise to $30 million. From 25 previously announced, and that means we can get rid of the equity component. So we're just raising $30 million of debt, which covers the entire project development, and we're proceeding flat out on that. And the other very nice thing that's happened is the tungsten price has gone from $220 per MTU to $330 per MTU. Reflecting, what's a very strong market for tungsten and a very strong market globally.
Is there any particular reason why tungsten's finally gone up, apart from the fact that it was maybe too low before?
Look, I think it was with a lag. I think just the global growth in industrial production in Asia, China, Europe, and the United States has finally caught up with it. A lot of mines shut down 15, 16, scarcity of supply. For automobiles, aerospace, military applications, you need tungsten, and demand is very strong and supply is very scarce.
Right, just to dial back to what I was saying at the beginning, private investors in general are very impatient, some of them quite miserable, but they play hardball with CEOs and in terms of what they're saying and what a company's supposed to be doing. There's no benefit of the doubt given to mining stocks at all these days. They were clearly waiting for you to get the funding in for your project, and they weren't going to give you any leeway or any hope value until those funds were in sight. It is a non-dilutive fundraising as far as the shareholders are concerned. Are you surprised there hasn't been more of a reaction or a change in sentiment?
Look, I think there's been a fairly solid. We've gone from 0.3p to 0.4, 0.45p, so that's 50% increase.
That's all right, I suppose.
I think the fundamentals of the feasibility study, the final investment decision report, just underpin the credentials of the project. And then when you've got a very high price that's a multiple of 3 times your operating cost, people say, well, this is the kind of project that does get financed. But next quarter, we're going to deliver.
And what are you going to deliver? What's the pace of the development of the projects that you're involved with?
We can deliver production 12 months from full financing. At the moment, we've placed the order for the crusher. We've placed the order for the jig. We're about a week or 2 from placing the order for the concentrator. We're spending all that relatively limited amount of money to move the project up the initial part of the S-curve and keep it on schedule. But the financing is key to be able to build that state-of-the-art plant and get it producing at this very, very strong tungsten price environment.
And when's D-Day as far as production is concerned then? What's the current estimate?
So we're production 4th quarter of 2018.
Right. And then apparently you're going to be able to sort of pay down that debt that you have quite quickly, is that right?
So on our financial forecast, which were published in all the various releases, we can repay our debt in year 3 and fully fund the expansion to 3.5 million tonnes a year of mine production. So that shows a pretty fundamentally strong project. And since then, the price environment is now materially higher than the forecast that we used in the feasibility study. So, yeah, we're in a good position.
Right, just a few other areas. The gold copper project or the Spinoff, how's that going?
That's the copper gold resources is going well. I mean, I guess we've kind of like had 90% of our horsepower focused on the financing, but we do have a good team working that forward. And in October, we'll give the market a good update in terms of what we're doing there with the copper gold resources.
Okay, well, finally, this is the NEX Exchange interview. Apparently, you are doing something with NEX Exchange with a different hat. Could you just explain that as well?
Well, look, yeah. So NEX is a great platform for listed bonds. We've seen Angus Energy do some good work setting up a listed bond for their operations, and we're going to have a very serious look at a NEX bond for Saffron Energy.
Right, and you think that this is like a bit of an unsung hero in terms of raising money for small companies?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the post-financial crisis, banks, the infrastructure that was in place with banks, particularly for oil and gas lending, is just not there in the same way. Interest rates are very low. Investors, really want some yield, and if they're able to get yield on cash-producing assets, around about the 7 to 8% mark, that's good for the investors from the point of view of progressing our projects and further increasing our production rates. That's very good for us.
Michael Masterman, Executive Chairman at W Resources, thanks for coming in today.
It's a pleasure.